Welcome to the Bullpen Show. I'm Austin Alexander, and we've got a very special guest that we're going to get to in just a moment. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Real quick recap. We finished our All-Star games. It was a wet week last week, so we weren't able to get in all the baseball we had scheduled. But all in all, very successful end to 4 leagues, 162 teams, and we were able to play as much baseball as we could last week given the weather. We also had our DP showcase. Our fall showcase was on Saturday at River Bluff High School. A beautiful weather we had for that. A lot of good players came out, a lot of new names, and we'll talk about those in our next episode. Now, if you want to catch anything from that particular event, jump on thediamondprospects.com. We've got all the 60s, the miles per hour, all the TrackMan data will be on our website, thediamondprospects.com. But I don't want to hold on any longer because we've got a really cool guest with us that I want to get to right now. Bryce Teodosio is a center fielder for the Los Angeles Angels. Just a month ago, he's roaming grass out in L.A., which, of course, is in the news right now if you've watched any baseball over the course of this last month and then, of course, this last week, right across town from the L.A. Dodgers. But we're going to talk about that in just a second. But let me give you his quick resume. He's a 2017 grad from Mauldin High School. After Mauldin, he played 4 years at Clemson. One of those was a COVID season, but he was a 4-year starter for the Tigers. Went undrafted, and we're going to talk a little bit about his journey as to how he went from college baseball into pro ball. I ended up debuting in the big leagues in 2024, and then in 2025, he took over center field and played the last couple of months, really taking over for a legend at that position, and we're going to discuss a little bit about what that means. But we're really very fortunate for us to be able to welcome in. We got a ton of things we want to get to, but first of all, Bryce Teodosio, how are you doing today, sir? And so happy to have you here.
Hey, Austin, I really appreciate you having me on this podcast. I'm doing fantastic, and I'm ready to get into it.
Well, I know you had a workout. You work out at Clemson still and still live right there in that area. But I appreciate you being able to take time for us today. And we got a ton of ground to cover. So we're going to start really with the World Series. And then we're going to talk a lot more about you and your path and your career and your life. One of the things that, two of the things that I think make your take on this really, really interesting is obviously you're right there in L.A. Where they're raising the trophy as we speak. As we're recording this, they're having their parade and their trophy celebration. You're right across town with the Angels. And you also have, which makes I think this a lot more interesting, a former teammate from high school, Justin Dean, is now a world champion. So if you could kind of give me your take on what you saw of the World Series. Did you watch it? What'd you think about it? Give us your take on that. And then, of course, some memories of now world champion Justin Dean.
Yeah. First off, congrats to the Dodgers. Congrats to Justin Dean. Justin Robleski, who played with me at Clemson, he was on that team as well. Yeah, I watched the World Series. I thought it was insanely competitive and just crazy. About as good as baseball as you're going to get watching. And, it was really neat for me. Obviously you want to be in it. You want to be competing in that environment, but it was neat for me just this season getting to play the Dodgers. And we actually, believe it or not, I was a part of 3 of the games, but we ended up sweeping them all 6 games this season, which was pretty crazy. So that was neat just to be able to see a team like that, knowing that we beat them and whatnot. But obviously tons of talent on that team. It's absolutely insane. Couldn't be happier for Justin Dean. He's been one of my good buddies since I was a freshman in high school. He's 2 years older than me at Mauldin. And just to see his journey absolutely grind throughout the minor leagues, play winter ball every single year, and then he gets his opportunity with the Dodgers. So the crazy part about him too, me and him had I just came off of my injury, and me and him just got done finishing playing in AAA against each other. So we went out to Oklahoma City. I was playing for the Salt Lake Bees. He's with Oklahoma City, and we had just got done playing a series out there, and I literally got called up from there. And so I'm up for like a week, and then he gets called up, and then we're playing against each other in the big leagues. And so that was like super special to go from playing against each other in AAA to then literally a week later, we're playing against each other in the big leagues. And he's one of the best dudes out there, one of the most humble dudes out there. Can't speak more highly of him. So it was like amazing for me just to see him on the field doing his thing, and for him to get a World Series ring. I'm sure, realistically sitting here, he probably at the beginning of the year didn't think he would be a World Series champion. And sure enough, he got his opportunity, and just continue to roll with it. And for the rest of his life, he can say he's won the World Series. So that's pretty awesome. But the other crazy thing about Justin Dean that we'll talk about is him and I obviously are known for our defense in center field. And we shared the same team, or we shared the same field. I was a sophomore, he was a senior, and neither one of us were playing center field. I was playing left and he was playing right. So, it's just crazy. It's funny. There's another kid in center that was extremely talented as well, but it's just funny just looking back, and you got two big league center fielders playing left and right in high school. So
Interesting tidbit, and I did not know that. I remembered you playing center. I remembered him playing center some, but I didn't realize at the same time when you guys were in the same outfield, you were flanking the corners for somebody else. Whereas now two major franchises entrust center field and all that grass with the two of you, and that's just crazy coming from the same high school. I did not know that. That's a really cool story. I appreciate you sharing that. And
sure.
along those same lines, all right, because both of you guys are plus defenders. At one of the premium positions that our game has. I'm going to take you back to Game 6. You were watching that, and I look forward to your response here. So Justin Dean is put in for defense with a lead, and all of a sudden there's the ball smoked over his head, can't get to it, and the ball hits the base of the wall and lodges at the base of the wall. All right, in that moment, you've got to react, and how you react literally could win your team the World Series or lose it. What do you know as an outfitter in that situation to do? And of course, what are your reactions? What is going through your mind as that ball hits and stops?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was able to make that split second decision that pretty much won them a World Series. And obviously as an outfielder, if you see the ball get stuck in the fence, you throw your hands up. But like that was a different situation just because of the way the wall is there. Like it doesn't really seem like the ball could get stuck in the fence there, the way how low the padding hangs down. So honestly, like that was like a 1 in a million kind of play for the ball to get stuck, and like for him to make that decision like literally saved them the World Series. And that was crazy. And it's funny how, you get thrown in there, especially in a tight situation, how the ball finds you. And he was able to capitalize on that and help the team win. And he did his job. So that was really just a heads up play out of him, and just shows his baseball IQ.
Put yourself in your shoes one more time, and I'm going to ask the question this way. Once you throw your hands up, you're pretty much selling out that I hope they see this ball as lodged as I am right now. As they circle the pillows and they score what I think became the tying run, are you a little nervous, hoping that the umpires see it the same way you do?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, like I said, like that wall really didn't like present the best, opportunity for the ball to get stuck in there. I'm sure it was like completely caught off guard and doesn't happen a whole lot there. So for the ball to get stuck and, your first reaction is like, oh, should I have done that? But, nowadays too, they do have all this replay and whatnot. So you can have like a little bit of confidence that they can maybe see that it's in there good. But I mean, props to JD for making the right decision because they got him a ring. So that's awesome.
Sure did. We'll send everybody back to second, third, and of course the rest of that is history as well. How that one played out in the Game 6, forcing the Game 7. Well, I appreciate your candor on Games 6 and 7, also the World Series, and some highlights on Justin Dean. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on. Certainly like to see his thoughts on that particular play, but also on the roller coaster of that series was. I look forward to getting him on here as well. So appreciate you jumping in on that. I want to talk a lot more about you. And so we're going to get to that. Now you're playing center field for the Los Angeles Angels. And, unless someone's been living under a rock, that position's been nailed down by a future Hall of Famer for the last decade plus by the name of Mike Trout. So you played with that guy. That was his position. If you could give young fans who obviously idolize Mike Trout what it's like to take over for a guy who's a household name that's going to be enshrined in Cooperstown. What's that like to be the next guy? Okay. And then, of course, what kind of teammate has he been? How's he helped you go from being an elite center fielder to being maybe even a little better than you were when you got there?
Yeah. First off, glory to God for putting me in this position. It's been a crazy journey for me, and I'm very humbled and blessed to have been given this opportunity. I mean, a lot of things have lined up for this to happen for me. And, Mike has been absolutely outstanding to me. There's a lot of bigger name guys out there that you don't really give a lot of the younger guys the time of day. That's just the brutal, honest truth. And he's been the complete opposite to me. He's been he's taken me in since the first day that I got up there and treated me, the way that I'd like to be treated. And he's full of knowledge, obviously full of tons of experience. So just being able to kind of sit down and talk with him like a normal human and just talk about the game and talk about little things here and there, with whether it's at the plate or in the outfield. It's been really just encouraging for me, and he's lifted me up, complimented me here and there, and he's helped me just like get a little bit more confidence in myself, for sure. When you have somebody that you've literally grown up watching, loving. I remember when I was at Clemson, like, you try to sometimes emulate your favorite player, and like, he was my favorite player when I was at Clemson. Obviously, he's a bigger guy playing center field. He's got some pop, like a ton of pop. So like, when we had like Tiger BP, and I was, at Clemson trying to hit a home run in Tiger BP or trying to make a play, like, I was literally like thinking like I was Mike Trout. And, you know, did it always translate? No, but like, it was cool that I was able to share the field with somebody that I've looked up to since I was literally in high school, and like truly was one of my favorite players growing up. There's not too many guys out there that get the opportunity to play with one of their favorite players as a kid. And like I said, he's taken me in. He's given me the time of day. He's, you know, sought me out to have conversation. We've talked about hunting. We've talked about baseball. We talked about all kinds of stuff. So he's just a good person. And that's what it comes down to. Like I said, there's a lot of guys out there that wouldn't have treated me the way that he's treated me. And he didn't have to, but he did. And I'll never forget the way he brought me in from the beginning of my time up in the big leagues. And very grateful for him and all the older guys on the team. We had a really good group of guys this year that, we all loved each other, and that's what it comes down to. So
Good stuff. And switching from one legend to another baseball immortal, I just want to talk to you a little bit briefly about Shohei Ohtani, who was an Angel, now a Dodger, before he switched sides of town. But while you were in spring training, before you were a big leaguer, he was still with the Los Angeles Angels. You said you were, we talked pre-show here about your time with him. If you could briefly, because obviously he's raising a trophy, earning himself another ring. But what was he like as a teammate? Give folks a little bit of a glimpse inside of what that guy's like.
yeah. I don't have too many memories with him, but here I'll tell like just a good story about him. And number one, like, the guy is insanely disciplined. That's the biggest difference with a lot of these guys, is just how dedicated they are to their routine every single day. Like, you don't ever really see guys like, aimlessly going about their day. They have a purpose behind everything that they're doing, whether it's what they're eating, whether it's how they're stretching, whether it's how they're lifting, like, their BP, their dry reps, every little detail in their day is calculated. And that's, what I saw out of him was just like, the guy is absolutely dialed in. I mean, he's so laser focused on what he has to do. And I feel like that's what makes him as good as he is. It was pretty cool. My very first day in big league camp a couple years ago, he was in my BP group, and this was like kind of early camp. We hadn't like officially started camp yet. And he was in our group, and, I'm thinking, I have some pretty decent BP. I'm hitting balls pretty far out and whatnot, and I'm getting balls. And this day in particular, the wind was blowing in, so I was getting balls and they were barely going out. This dude is like grunting, hitting balls 117, 118, 119 with a wood bat as far as you can possibly hit them out, like from the left side. He'd clip a ball oppo, and he'd be pissed about it, and it'd go way farther than my ball that I just pulled. You know, he's hitting balls that he's pissed about that go halfway up the batter's eye. It's a different talent. Like, the dude is just, he's unbelievable. It was the craziest BP I've ever seen, and it's not even close. Like, I've been around some absolute just strong dudes in pro ball. Some of these Latin American players can absolutely crush balls in BP, and it was insane. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around some of these balls he was hitting. And like I said, the dude is just laser focused. Something I look up to about him is, how dedicated to his craft he is, and, how we can all be better in all areas of the game.
Well, he's definitely pretty good at the baseball thing. It's pretty cool that you had a personal experience and an up close look to see what that looks like live. Well, let's switch. Let's kind of rewind back. I want to kind of go all the way back to high school. A lot of the guys that will be listening to this, TO, are in high school, the parents of high school players. Let's kind of wind it back to that. So now you're a high school player. You mentioned you were a young player playing with Justin Dean. Talk a little bit about your high school experience, some things, some highlights from your high school career, and then, of course, how that morphed into you choosing Clemson and then becoming a Tiger.
Yeah. So first things first, I mean, from the time I was a little kid, I was always the biggest Clemson fan ever. Both of my parents went there. We would go to games since I was a little baby and, you know, just literally was so head over heels for Clemson. It's not even funny. Loved Clemson so, so much. And so my dream as a kid was literally to go play baseball at Clemson. There was like, yeah, every kid's got their dream to go play in the big leagues or go play professional baseball. But realistically, when I got to high school, my only goal was to go play at Clemson. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but the good Lord, again, blessed me tremendously with the great opportunity. And we'll get into it. Really and truly, my whole high school career, I was more of like pitcher in most people's eyes. As a younger kid, I was a good athlete, played basketball and football, and got into high school and really started to focus on baseball. And really, I was a late bloomer. So like really or going into my junior years when I kind of hit puberty and got a growth spurt. So I went from like my freshman year of high school, I was 5'10", 150. I remember on my driver's license, I was 5'10", 150. Sophomore year, I was like 6'2", 165. Junior year, I ended up getting up to 6'3", and I was like 175. And then senior year, I really bulked up, got up to 200. But to focus on my whole recruiting process, I played for the Diamond Devils when I was a sophomore. That was my first year, my freshman year. I just played like kind of like Legion summer ball with my high school team. Wasn't really on like a legit travel team or anything like that. Went to go play with the Diamond Devils, got a little bit of exposure, but really I was a left-handed pitcher throwing like 80 miles per hour as a sophomore, which is decent, not great. And so, really hadn't bloomed yet. And I was starting to get a little bit of notice going into my junior year. I hadn't played my junior season yet. I got my first offer from Wofford College to basically go. I was going to two-way, but basically more as a pitcher. And then Furman offered me to the same type of thing, basically as a left-handed pitcher. And so the crazy part about it is like, I thought Clemson was out the window. I mean, at this point, Clemson as a junior, going into junior year, I hadn't even played my junior season. At this point, Clemson has already had like 10 to 12 commits, and that's almost a full recruiting class at the time. And so I was like, man, Coastal started talking to me a little bit, and I went down to a camp at Coastal. And if Coastal would have offered me, I would have committed on the spot, 100%. And thank God they didn't offer me, because I got a text from Coach Mach later that fall or winter, and Monty had asked that I come to the fall or winter camp. And so I'm like jacked out of my mind that Monty Lee asked me to come to this camp. And so, I ended up going to the camp and just played as well as I could have possibly played. Was making a bunch of plays, hit a home run and in this little thing we are doing, like just hitting the ball well. And sure enough, Bradley LaCroix after the fact came up to me and was like, hey, like, can I get your phone number? We're going to be in touch type of thing. And I literally couldn't believe it. I was in disbelief because, like I said, there was nothing more in my life that I wanted to do than play baseball at Clemson. Literally nothing. Like, didn't care about going to play pro ball, didn't care about really anything else but going to play baseball at Clemson. And so a month or two goes by and didn't hear anything. And I'm like, literally I'm going through my head, like, did I give him the right number? Like, did I tell him did I accidentally say the wrong number or something? Like, maybe he doesn't have my number. Like, I was just like going through all the scenarios in my head, super paranoid, super worried, because I was like this is my opportunity to go to Clemson. And so sure enough, February 14th, Coach Monty Lee has me up for an offer or for a visit. And he offers me basically, and this is kind of funny. So at first he offered me a like just straight up walk on spot. And my mom, she's super intense. She's go getter, boss lady, whatever you want to call her. And she's like, so that's it? Like, that's all we're going to get is he doesn't get anything. He doesn't get any kind of scholarship. And so because of my mom, he was like, all right, we'll give him 25% his sophomore or his junior and senior year. So my first 2 years I was preferred walk on, and then my last 2 years I was on scholarship. But like literally if my mom hadn't spoke up, like I would have been a true preferred walk on all 4 years. And so anyway, I commit on the spot. I'm jacked out of my mind. I remember going home after that, getting in the shower, getting on my knees and just crying my eyes out because of how like amazed I was at what God had done for me in my life. Like literally like I was like the second to last guy to commit to Clemson. The stars aligned, like went to this camp, did really well. They had never even talked to me before, like never even heard about me, nothing. And so that was absolutely insane to me. And so, yeah, I committed right before my junior season, and that motivated me more than anything, just to continue to get stronger, faster, hit better, all the things. And sure enough, ended up going there and getting to play at my dream school for 4 years and start and play center field after literally Walford and Furman basically wanted me to go there and pitch. So it's a crazy story. And it's something that, like, looking back, like, honestly, I haven't thought about it a whole lot since, all that was going on, because like life goes on. But it is really truly amazing what, the Lord has done for me and all these little God winks throughout my life.
Well, I can tell you, you mentioned Coach Lee. I remember him telling me while you were there, let's obviously end up at Clemson, and while you were there, I remember him saying, I've got a major league center fielder playing college baseball right now. At that point, in his mind, he had identified you, and you had already portrayed yourself as a big league defender. And of course, that's continued, and we'll see that common theme as each step and every opportunity that comes next. But before we get all the way up to the big leagues, stay right there with Clemson. If you could kind of give us maybe two or three or just a handful of highlights, some of your best memories from playing college baseball.
Yeah. Something that obviously playing the game is amazing, but something that I love is just like all the preparation, the process. It's something that I've fallen in love with. Rick Franzblau is my guy. He is the head of Olympic sports here at Clemson, and the dude is an absolute wizard. He knows more about, developing baseball players than anybody I've been around when it comes to a strength and conditioning standpoint. And some of the best and worst memories were like doing like the Omaha Challenge. Obviously you get anxiety thinking about even doing some of the stuff that we were doing physically, just pushing cars up hills and dragging sleds and doing little triathlon type things, prowler pushes, like all these things. But like those are like some of my favorite memories, because it's just like, being able to bond with your teammates over like hardship and whatnot is just like, there's nothing better, and it really does bring the team together. That's some of my favorite stuff, is all the weight room stuff that we did. He did an excellent job. Being able to host a regional my freshman year, I wasn't able to play in it, but just seeing all the fans pack out against Vanderbilt, we obviously didn't get out of it, but it was really neat just to be a part of that. And I do remember just how special it was, like being one of the best teams in the country that first season, and being able to contribute for the team, and going from literally a kid who was probably going to potentially commit to either Wofford or Furman, nothing against him whatsoever, but to starting as a freshman in center field. And again, the stars kind of aligned for me for that as well. We had a couple guys get hurt, and I was the next guy up, and I had broken my hand that fall, so really didn't get to show Monty what I was about, and came back feeling great. And that spring kind of got to show him what I was going to do. And I was literally the opening day starter as a freshman. And I just remember writing in my notes, like, I'm going to win center field freshman year, and it happened. And so it's just like, it's crazy. It's amazing. Like I said before, I've been given a lot of God-given abilities, but there's been a lot of work that's gone into this day in and day out, and it sucks at times, but you do have to fall in love with the process like I was talking about, because that's really the main thing you can focus on. The outcomes will come and go, but the process, if you can keep that consistent, you're gonna find the results. So
Now, obviously, you had the injuries and you had to play through COVID. You were one of the COVID guys. That 2020 team would have been interesting if you could have played out that season with that roster
no
off to a
doubt.
good start and then it was over. But you played 4 years. You start for 4 years for Clemson. Sometimes the offense would go up and down, but the glove was always there, and that kept you in the lineup and being a huge part of all the success that you guys had while you were there. But as you're seeing teammates go high, in high rounds and getting picked left and right, the draft comes and goes, and you don't hear your name. So if
Yep.
you could kind of give us an idea of kind of how the draft process went for you, obviously going undrafted, and then how you got your foot in the door to be able to play pro ball. Take us through that process.
Yep. I've always known, not always, I'll say once I got to Clemson and kind of got to start showing what I can do on the field and started to believe in myself more, like you said, the bat didn't show up like it should have at Clemson, period. It just didn't. And a lot of that's on me. So one thing I'll say is I've always known I've had the ability. That hasn't been the issue. And so seeing guys like Logan Davidson, seeing guys like Seth Beer, like all these first round guys, coming through Clemson, a lot of guys getting drafted, like my goal was literally to be a first rounder, believe it or not. That was my goal. And I felt like I had the tools to be a first rounder. I just didn't hit well enough. And so anyway, I knew my defense was there. So again, 2020 comes, that's my junior season, COVID, 5-round draft, you know, wasn't was offered a free agent deal that year, but wasn't going to take a free agent deal, when I could go back for another year. And, anyway, 2020 comes, still didn't hit well enough. I really and truly thought I would get picked based on what people were telling me, like a third day later round guy based on my skill set. But, what my agent was telling me, I was probably going to get picked. Different scouts were telling me stuff. And then the draft came, didn't get picked. Probably one of the lowest of lows I've ever felt in my life, because I worked so entirely hard once I got to Clemson to then go on to pro ball. And, I just felt like from the time I was at Clemson, a freshman at Clemson, people were constantly feeding me things like, dude, you're a 5-tool player. You could potentially be a, top 5-round pick, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like I probably started to put way too much pressure on myself. And that's part of the reason why the bat didn't show up as well. All you got to do is hit 270. That's all you got to do. And you're a top 3-round pick. That's the kind of stuff that was being said to me pretty consistently from players, coaches, you name it. And so anyway, get to 2021, don't have a great season, had a better season hitting, and didn't hear my name called. Like I said, it was one of the most depressing things ever. I was just extremely disappointed. I had every emotion you can think of. And so expected for sure to get a free agent deal. Like I was like, oh, I'll definitely get one. 4, 5, 6 days go by, didn't hear anything, nothing. And I'm like, my baseball career might be over, because I had already kind of made up my mind that I didn't want to go back. I'd already graduated. I'd already played for 4 years there, got my fair share of opportunity at Clemson, and, was just ready to move on to something different. And ended up getting a call from the Cubs. And so the Cubs, they offered me an opportunity to sign a free agent deal, but there was a stipulation that I had to stop hitting right-handed and only hit left-handed. And so they were basically like, yeah, you can't hit from your right side. We think that if we can make you a left-handed hitter, it's going to help with your speed tremendously. So they didn't give me the option to switch hit. They literally said, you have to become a left-handed hitter. And for anybody that is a baseball guy, that's impossible. Like that, there's really no one who's ever done that. And that was my only option. It was either that or go play independent ball. I really and truly did not want to go play independent ball. I've heard a lot of tough things about independent ball and just really didn't want to do it. And so I ended up telling my agent, I was like, I'm going to take this. Like, I'm going to do this. And he's like, man, I don't think you should do this. This is not a good idea. I don't think this is gonna, this is gonna be a very quick, death type of thing for your career. And so I'm so thankful he talked me out of doing that. And he's like, let's just sit tight and hold off for a little bit and just see what we got. And sure enough, a couple days later, the Angels called, offered me $10,000, and um, I was off to Arizona within like a week. And from there on, I'm not going to sit here and say it's been smooth sailing, because minor league baseball is an absolute grind. You better love baseball if you're going to play in the minor leagues, and if you're going to play professional, period. That week or however long it was in between the draft and then getting a call from the Angels was like some of the hardest week I've ever dealt with. Just And that sounds silly. Like there's a lot of problems out there in this world that are way worse than not getting drafted. But when you literally obsess and put your entire life focus on getting drafted and then it not happening and then not even getting, the opportunity, it's depressing. And so extremely blessed and thankful that the Angels ended up taking a chance on me. They've treated me tremendous this whole entire ride. They've treated me just like anybody else. I mean, so that was really neat. Because I've heard different things from other organizations. And so it's been a crazy journey for me. I'm very, very thankful I didn't take that deal with the Cubs. That would have been probably the end of my career.
So as it sits right now, you've been with one professional organization. It was the Angels that gave you that shot. It's the Angels that got you to the big leagues, and in pretty quick order. Wasn't that long ago you were playing in Clemson wearing orange, and of course you throw on the Angels uniform and relatively shoot through the minor leagues. If you kind of what I'd like for you to do is give us a quick glimpse of that climb, but
Yep.
also tell us, when you got to that point when you finally got the call. What was the call like to the show?
Yep. So the first season, that first half season, I went straight to the ACL. I played there, played really well, got promoted after 2 weeks, went to low A, played well there, ended up getting hurt. Here's the thing with me, and you know this, but I'm like 110% every single time I run down the line, every time I go after a ball. And that can hurt me sometimes at the plate, but every single one of my injuries has been from just playing hard. So that's either diving, sliding, running into a wall, whatever it is. All of my injuries have been from that. I ended up breaking my back sliding into third base. I basically scorpioned. And so that ended my low A season. Go on to the next year. I started my first full season in double A, which is like unheard of for a lot of guys, which again, so blessed that the Angels gave me that opportunity, because I know for a fact if I was with any other team that probably wouldn't have been the case. They, for whatever reason, send a lot of their, guys to double A off the first year. And so that got me some good experience facing some really good pitching, playing in a really tough league. And it was not easy. I mean, I hit 194 my first season, struck out a ton, but still played the good defense and was able to kind of show what I could do on the bases as well. And so went to double A, first full season, went to double A again the next season, and ended up dislocating my shoulder, had to have full blown shoulder surgery on my right non-throwing shoulder. Rehab from that, got back. The next season went to AAA, and that was in 2024. Had the best year hitting of my life. Finally kind of figured a few things out at the plate that, has really, really helped me, and ended up getting called up on September 7th, 2024. And, it was insane. I mean, you always feel like you can anticipate like certain things in your life. And there were certain moments of my 2024 season where I was just absolutely raking, stealing a bunch of bases, making plays, doing all the things. And guys are looking around like, dude, who is this kid? Like, you're a big leaguer type of thing. And didn't get called up when you would have expected it. Like, was playing really well in May, June, July, felt like I had a chance of getting called up. And then sure enough, when I least expected it, literally told my wife, I was like, well, I guess it's probably not going to happen this year. Someone gets hurt. I get called up on September 7th. And again, all glory to God, how he has worked all this into my life from, getting me to that camp in front of Monty, allowing me to perform. him giving me the opportunity to go play at Clemson. If I didn't play at Clemson, if I played at a smaller school, probably wouldn't have, gotten the opportunity to even get a free agent deal. Being with the Angels, just the fact that the Angels have given me all these opportunities, was able to go to the fall league, was able to do, a lot of cool things that some of these other organizations probably wouldn't have had me do because, they got other top prospects and whatnot. And the year, just to hit on this, kind of tie this in, the year that I was signed, they signed 20 pitchers. So they drafted 20 out of 20 pitchers, and then they signed a bunch of free agent guys. So it gave me like an opportunity to play because there really wasn't any new like position players. So like for that to line up, that was the only team that did that, 20 out of 20 pitchers. And so it's truly like, it's amazing to me how he's worked in my life and just his providence and how his just plan for me and all that, was able to make it up there. My first little big league run was pretty short. I ended up breaking my finger four games in. So I only played 4 games up there and then was on the IL for the rest of the season. But again, very, very thankful for that opportunity. Ended up getting hurt this past season and then getting called back up, and we can get more into that. But it's been a crazy ride, lots of injuries, lots of adversity, and again, been very, very blessed.
You're a walking human highlight reel. You're a web gem waiting to happen, a Sports Center highlight, over and over and over. And again, we've talked about your glove and how that was your calling card, and that's probably got a lot to do with what got you the big leagues and have kept you there. But man, you really, really threw your foot down and said, "Hey, I'm a guy up here when it comes to being able to play defense at this level." But you also have a home run on your the back of your baseball card too. So tell us about the dinger.
Yeah, that was really neat. I'd been really, really hoping and praying that I'd hit one before the end of the season, and shoot, it came down to the wire. I think we had like 4 or 5 games left and was able to hit one off of Cole Reagan's. It was crazy because I hit it, and I don't like, I'm not the guy to like pimp homers or anything like that. But when I hit it, I just like immediately like kind of flicked the bat and saw the ball going, and they started like like doing the strobe lights before the ball had even landed. And I'm like, this ball better go out. Cause there's a couple balls that I hit that like hit the very, very top of the fence like earlier in the season. And I thought they were homers. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. And sure enough, it did go out. But I was like, if if something would happen where, they play the strobe lights too early and then they call it back, or I don't know. But I was just super, super grateful for that, and it was a special moment. So just thrilled to hit my first one and just hope to hit a few more throughout my career.
Obviously, you popped that one off a very good left-handed pitcher. While you're no stranger to stealing homers from folks, it was good to finally be able to get one on your side, I'm sure. And one of the things I want to kind of mention, when we do these podcasts, one of the things, when you guys are in the middle of the season, we always start with guys that are Palmetto pros. And so your name's popped up a lot over the course of the year as we're trying to keep folks updated on how you're doing. But some other names that are close to DP as well. David Mershon, you were a teammate of, and also C.J. Edwards signed right out towards the end of spring training and made it to the big leagues real quick, and then end up going over to Texas. What was it like to have a couple of South Carolina guys hanging out with you at the higher levels of minor league baseball, certainly in spring training, big league spring training?
It was really cool. I mean, you don't really run across a whole lot of South Carolina guys in pro ball. So just to have David, who I love dearly, he's become one of my good buddies. And then Carl Edwards, I watched him in high school pitch in the World Series for the Cubs. And like, it's always great to see South Carolina guys doing big stuff. So in high school, you're always rooting for those kind of guys. And then, we've got Austin Gordon too, who played at Clemson. So like John Wimmer, there's like several guys in the Angels organization that are connected to South Carolina. And I'm a huge South Carolina guy and always going to root for South Carolina guys in general. And so it's been neat, just to be able to relate with these guys and just, you know, South Carolina is a little different than California. So it makes you feel like you're at home a little bit when you got guys to talk to.
Our state borders on the water, but it's a little different kind of water out there and a different world altogether, for sure.
That's right.
Well, Tio, one of the things that you've mentioned throughout this podcast, and I want to camp out here for a little bit, as long as you want to talk about your faith. I know that your faith is very important to your Christian walk. It's very important not only to your baseball journey but your life in general. I'm going to stop there. If you would kind of talk to us about how you came to being a Christian and about your walk in faith.
Yeah. I've always been a believer, grown up a believer, but I will say once I got to middle school, high school, going to public school was kind of being brought down the wrong path, hanging out with the wrong people, making bad decisions, listening to bad music, just, all the worldly things that the distractions just I was certainly partaking in. And I've always been a good kid, always had a very strong conscience, but like, just didn't really I've always prayed, always been a believer, but like I said, wasn't necessarily living out the faith as authentically as I should have been, even into college. And just to give you a little bit more too, I feel like one of the biggest things that has brought me way closer to Christ has been like my failures. Like had mentioned before, had this just huge expectation to get drafted and do all this stuff and be the guy and, wanted to be Mike Trout literally in college. And so with that came a lot of anxiety, a lot of performance anxiety. And I felt like that was a big contributor on why I didn't hit as well as I did. Just put so much pressure on myself at the plate. I have to do this, I have to do that. And that literally, I didn't want to resort to what most guys resort to, and that would be alcohol and drugs to deal with my problems. I knew that that wasn't me. And I really I'd say after my sophomore, junior, into senior years, when I really started to get into just my faith, my first year in pro ball was extremely humbling. The first half season, first time I was ever away from home, growing up in Simpsonville, going to Clemson. I didn't go home, but I had the opportunity. I could go home, I could go hunt, I could go fish, I could do whatever I wanted. Go see my parents playing at Clemson. And then to go out to Arizona and California and have nobody is very lonely. The lifestyle is very lonely. There's a lot of downtime. Didn't know what to do with myself. So I started to read the Bible. And I really, to be quite honest with you, didn't know many Bible verses until honestly my senior year of college, and then got on a Bible in a year program, started reading the Bible every single day and just became obsessed with learning about God and reading the word. And that really convicted me to change a lot of areas in my life. And so went on to my first season of pro ball, full season. And again, still dealing with this, performance anxiety every single day. It's just eating me alive, trying to perform, trying to be at the best, more so at the plate than in the outfield, and just kept diving deeper into the word. And that was my refuge. Being able to go home every single night and having this routine of literally reading the Bible for 15 minutes to 45 minutes every single night and learning more about it, listening to a podcast on it, just, so hungry to learn more and more about God and, his word. And, that's really what sparked all of this is the failures in this game. And I'll be like 100% honest with you. I don't really deal with a whole lot of anxiety outside of baseball. It's literally all performance driven. And like I said, been so obsessed with being the best version of myself since I was in high school. And it's just led to putting way too much pressure on myself. But in a way, it's amazing what God does because, he knew that was his avenue to me, to my heart. He knew baseball was the avenue and the failures within this game was the avenue to my heart. And it's really freed me up. It's helped me not identify myself as a baseball player. That's literally all I cared about growing up. Literally all I cared about. And it's helped me just know that I have a way bigger purpose in life than being the best baseball player. I want to be the best person and version of myself that I can possibly be and lead others to Jesus. And again, like I said, like diving into the word is what convicted me. Um, if you don't if you don't know the word, then how are you going to act on the word? And so it's like being able to learn more about it helped convicted me and to just clean up a lot of the stuff in my life. And a lot of it's very normal stuff. Like not using certain language, not watching certain things, not listening to certain things. And it's amazing what that does. It makes you so much more positive a person instead of just being negative 24/7, coming down on yourself. It's been the biggest part of my life. And I'm very, very glad that God was able to seek me out in the way that he did. And I wouldn't be in the big leagues without him, because I can tell you right now, like, this game sucks at times. It really does, especially as a hitter. There's not too many jobs out there where you fail, you know, 3 out of 10 times and you're good, you know. I'm trying to I'm trying to get up to 3 out of 10 times, but you know what I'm saying? It's it's amazing what all I've seen him do in my life, and that's grown my faith stronger and stronger, and just trying to be the best version of myself and be the best Christian I can possibly be and just help others, because the world's full of a lot of distractions, and certainly can lead us off on the wrong path.
Well, this game's certainly hard. Life can be hard, and walking with Jesus in this game can sometimes be hard. So I appreciate your being candid on a topic that a lot of people just don't want to talk about. I appreciate you getting that out there, and for those folks that are out there trying to do the same thing, maybe that can serve as some form of encouragement. So I appreciate you being right on with that. So let's move on with what we're talking about here. Now you're right in the middle of your off season. I know you're working out at Clemson. You're doing some different things. What are some things that you've got to do between now and before you report to spring training? And then, what are some hobbies? You mentioned hunting and fishing. What are some things you like to do to maybe give your mind a break and to kind of get away from the game a little bit?
Yeah. I've got a few goals this off season. Right now, I'm making a couple swing changes. I'm really trying to pattern a new move, and it's going really well. Very excited about it. I'm also really working on my bunting. That can be a big weapon for me with my speed, and really just trying to get stronger, faster, continue to be athletic. Huge, huge, huge shout out to Rick Franzblau for what he's done for me in my life and strength and conditioning. It's allowed me to develop into the athlete that I am. Always been a good athlete, but he has really, really helped me like maximize some of my abilities. And he's very, very calculated on certain areas of our workouts. So I'm very happy with the workouts we're doing this off season. We've got a good group of guys up there. There's probably 6 to 10 professional guys that played at Clemson that are back training together in the off season. So it's a great environment, and it makes showing up to work out in the off season way more fun. So just really trying to gain some weight, continue to get faster, continue to really, really work on the hitting. And just take care of myself, take care of my body. And to get into my hobbies, I absolutely love bow hunting, absolutely love duck hunting. I like to fish a lot. I've gotten more into fly fishing in the past like 3 years, and that's my getaway from baseball. That helps me get out in creation and just really take in all that God has created and given us. And it's nice peace and quiet. You ain't got to think about baseball. You can just focus on what you're doing out there in the woods, and I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's so much fun for me, and our state has a lot of good hunting and fishing, so it's fun.
I'm sure while it's intended to be a little bit of a break from baseball, you probably turn it into something competitive as well once you get in your element. Well, listen, one of the things I want to kind of ask you too, now you're going to play baseball as long as somebody will continue to give you a uniform, I'm sure. But at some point, that's going to come to an end. We saw Max Scherzer the day after the World Series decide that's it, but he had a pretty good run, and hopefully you'll have a good run as well. But if you look in your crystal ball, once the game is over, as a player, what do you think will be next for Bryce Teodosio?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've thought about it, in the past couple years, and I really do see myself potentially coaching. I enjoy working with people and helping people, and to be able to, do what I love and show up to a ball field every day, that would be, in a perfect world, that would be the dream, to just, coach baseball. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what level. I don't, it could be high school, it could be college, it could be pro ball. I have no idea, but I've started to really love the lifestyle of professional baseball, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it is nice having an off season to be able to hunt and do stuff like that. So as long as I can stay in baseball, that's kind of my dream.
Well, a lot to get to the point you've gotten to, really get even to the high school level. There's some people that have to be in your path and in your journey along the way that are instrumental in helping you, reach your goals and get where you're supposed to be. But certainly when you've been in the game this long, there've got to be some people, probably a lot of people, that have helped you
Yes.
get to where you are presently without, trying to rattle off and leave off a lot of names too. Who are some at the top of that list, some folks that maybe you want to give a shout out to in terms of how they've really enhanced your career?
First things first, I want to give a shout out to Scott Reed. He was my travel ball coach growing up for the Simpsonville Stars. Guy is just on fire for baseball. He loves baseball. He coached me until I was about 12 or 13, and just really taught me how to play the game. Absolutely love him, and just super thankful for what he did for me at a young age to get me into the game and teach me how to play it the right way. My dad, 100%, a lot of what I do in this game, like I'm trying to make my dad happy. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm in the big leagues. I'm 26 years old, but you know, if I can please my dad, that makes me super, super happy and proud. And then huge shout out to Coach Mach, Jim Majewski. He was hard on me, but it made me tougher. And I'm very, very thankful for just the kind of coach he was to me in high school and how he helped me develop. And him and Monty, man, I'm telling you, those guys pushed me to be the outfielder that I am. They, from a young age, they just, I mean, harped constantly on taking live reads. And I just took it super serious, diving in BP, trying to make every single play. And that has really helped me develop as an outfielder. So, and Monty Lee, he's been just a huge positive impact in my life. For him to give me the opportunity to go to my dream school and play for 4 years and start for 4 years, I literally, like, I can't even wrap my head around it. I'm still in awe of just going to play baseball at Clemson. Like I said, that was my dream. And for him to give me that opportunity, and I've never met somebody who cares more. The guy, he's intense, but the dude absolutely cares more than anybody. And he's just been an amazing role model for me and has helped me tremendously in life and baseball. Glenn Hunt, he's who got me in the weight room at a young age. I started going to see him when I was a sophomore in college, in high school, and he's kind of what helped me get to the frame that I'm at, and taught me how to lift and taught me how to take care of my body. And that certainly played a huge role in my development to get me to Clemson. And Rick Franzblau, he he's my main guy. I'm gonna work out with Rick for as long as I play this game. Like I said earlier, he's cares a lot. He's one of the smartest dudes I know, and he's just pushed me. He never lets me get complacent, and that's what I love about him. And I'm gonna keep going as I think. Andy Shatsley, he was my double A manager, played for him for 2 years. He was there for me at a hard time, kind of, dealing with some of that performance anxiety. We're wired similar. He's super intense, cares a lot about the game. And so he was able to really, really help me when I was in double A, just continue to show up every single day with the right attitude and help my development as a ball player. Keith Johnson and Alonzo Powell, can't say better things about them. Jack Santora, they got me to the big leagues. Those guys just, relentless, always willing, always wanting to get work in. Alonzo Powell is my guy, hitting guy. He changed my career and life forever. My 2024 season, he helped me tremendously at the plate and allowed me to have the best season of my life, hitting wise. Like I said, I was just so willing and always treating me. He's always treating people, no matter if they're playing good or bad, the same every day. He's the same guy every single day, and that's what I need, and that's what I like. And I really just appreciate what he did for me in AAA last year. And there's tons of other guys out there, but can't thank them enough. Very grateful for what my parents have done for me. They've sacrificed so much for my baseball career, going all these travel tournaments as a young kid and paying a bunch of money to play and all this stuff, hotels, missing out on their life for me. And I'm just very, very blessed to have the parents that I have that have supported me every step of the way and have pushed me every single day.
Well, as we wind down, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to kind of think back to when you were in high school. You attended a lot of our events. You came to Pro Day, Palmetto games. In short order, what could you tell folks about your high school experience? as it pertains to Diamond Prospects. What do you remember about DP?
DP is amazing. It got me a lot of exposure. Just some of the articles that were written and some of the events. Obviously, these coaches were at these events and saw me and recruited me. And I'm sure Monty saw me at some of them as well. But it's all about exposure when you're in high school. If you can get around in front of the right person at the right time, your life could be changed forever. And that's what DP has done. They've put you in front of the guys, especially if you're trying to play in the state of South Carolina. They put you in front of a lot of the good schools, and otherwise you wouldn't be getting the exposure elsewhere. And so I always looked forward to going to DP events. I always, just being as competitive as I am, wanted to put up good numbers and whatnot, on the 60-yard dash, and that kind of stuff for me is super fun. And just love going to those showcase style workouts. But, I remember another thing that fired me up. I remember the junior diamond prospects back when I was like 9 or 10 years old. They had me ranked as the number one player in the state of South Carolina as an 11-year-old. And you have no idea how proud I was about that. I was like telling all my buddies at school, like, yeah, I'm the number one player in the state. So that was another really cool, little highlight of my junior diamond prospect stuff. And then I also remember my senior year, they had me like maybe like the highest ranked position player in the state, and Perfect Game had me like way down. And I was like, yeah, I believe these guys because they're South Carolina guys. So that's I've always been a diamond prospects guy, and just very thankful for the work you guys put in to further guys' careers. It's life changing and has led to a lot of really, really good college and professional careers.
Well, you know what? Sometimes we miss, but it's good to see that every once in a while we get it right. Even as an 11, 12-year-old, we identified you as a pretty good player. I think we hit on that one, wouldn't you say? But we do miss from time to time. But it's been a pleasure, really, to obviously know you at a very young age, or at least begin to follow your career at a very young age, certainly through high school on into college. And then, of course, get to know you a little bit, and we stayed in touch. And I appreciate your correspondence. And it's been good to get to know you on more of a level than just baseball as well. So it's been fun to follow your career. I know you're not done. You still got plenty of time to play this game. And we just look forward to following whatever you've got next. So, Bryce, I appreciate you coming on today.
I really appreciate you having me, Austin. It's been an absolute blast just to share my story, and just hope I can, help a kid out there who's got big dreams and big goals. Just continue to work hard, and, you know, don't make your dreams too big. You never know where you'll end up landing. I would have never thought I'd be in the big leagues, to be honest with you. So, like I said, just stay at it.
Well, you and folks like you are a big reason why we do what we do, because, there are young players that are going to be listening to this, and you know what? You might be their hero, probably are. And they get a chance to kind of hear a little bit more about you and the journey that wasn't easy to get where you are, and that can serve as some sort of a, way for them to say, I could do that too, and hopefully complement their careers and their walk. No, maybe in their faith as well, but certainly their journey in the game. So we appreciate you, taking us down memory road, taking us all the way back to your childhood and all the way through, get to the big leagues. And I know for sure we're going to still see you continuing to make big time plays and hauling in balls that somebody else is hoping is a dinger, and you're gonna pull it right back into the stadium and take one away. That's what you do for a living. You do it at a high level, and that's fun to watch. But more than anything else, man, I appreciate your time, appreciate your friendship, and certainly look forward to keeping up with you, but also getting to know you more over these years too. So again, thanks for your time. We're going to wrap up, and just want to make sure everybody knows out there who's listening, still with us right now. Make sure if anything you want from the fall leagues, anything you want from our fall showcase, all that's on thediamondprospects.com. And as the baseball has wound down for the year, we're going to try to do our best to bring in more guys like Bryce that are, going out and doing it and letting you hear how they got to where they get to. So while there's not a lot of baseball being played between the lines, outside the lines, we're going to try to bring these guys on and fill that gap with plenty of baseball talk over the course of November, December, January, until everybody cranks up again. For Austin Alexander and for Bryce Teodosio, I'm Austin Alexander signing off. We'll see you next time on the Bullpen Show.